Here we go again.
Oh, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing this?
Once more unto the breach, dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, Movie Reviews Connection of Mind. Tom and Jerry, the 2021 film, stars the live-action talents of Chloe Grace Moretz, Michael Pena, Rob Delaney, Ken Jeong, among others, as well as the animated talents of one Jerry Mouse and Tom the Cat. And this film focuses on Jerry taking up residence in a fancy New York City hotel where a big prestigious wedding is about to take place. And if Jerry is spotted at the hotel, it'll be a big hit to the hotel's reputation, and this wedding can't have that happen. So, the obvious solution to deal with the mouse problem? Hire a cat, namely Tom. And when these two come together, of course, animated mayhem will take place. So this review will contain spoilers of the Tom and Jerry movie. I will be doing my spoiler-free thoughts on the film first, and then I'll be getting some spoiler talk later, but just to keep in mind, there will be spoilers later on in the review. But first, let's get into this animated film. Is it worth seeing in the theaters, especially since this is also being released at the same time on HBO Max for streaming at home? Is it any good? Is it even worth clicking play on your HBO Max account? I'd say if you have kids, this is definitely worth checking out because as a fan of Tom and Jerry, it's really hard to screw up Tom and Jerry. I have not seen the 1992 feature film that they did, but I hear that is not particularly good. But overall, I'd say Tom and Jerry, when they get into some slapsticky stuff, it's fun. It's really hard to go wrong with some good old-fashioned animated slapstick, and this film does deliver that, although we'll get into it later. I wish it would have delivered more of that, but as is the nature with a hybrid animation and live-action movie, that balance is sort of hard to achieve. And I'll be doing some comparisons with other films like that later on down the road in this review. But let's deal with the animated sections of this film. Animated Tom, animated Jerry. You also have Spike, the dog. You also have Butch, the alley cat, as well as they sort of get around the fact that these are animated characters in a live-action world by every animal is animated in this film. The horses on the carriages in New York, the pigeons, any cats, and other animals that go on with this film. I will say there are elephants in this film. All of those are animated, and the animation, as I've come to expect from the Warner Animation Group, it actually looks pretty good. I like the fact that they keep it's that sort of animation where it is 3D animation, but it looks as close to 2D as you can get without it being 2D, if that makes sense. You're still keeping the original characters' designs alive, very similar to what they did in Space Jam with the Looney Tunes, that sort of thing. Though, in my opinion, that the animation in Tom and Jerry looks better than the animation that they did in Space Jam for how that looks. But you get the picture. They do a really good job with the animation, I feel, in this part. Where the animation fails, however, is when it has to interact with the live-action components. And the live-action parts, again, these are talented people. Chloe Grace Moretz, Michael Pena, Ken Jeong. They're all talented actors and actresses and have done good work in other films than before. It's just when really any actor who has to react genuinely to something that is not there, that has to be added in later. There are ways around that, of course. I mean, I'm sure some of you have seen the behind-the-scenes videos of Game of Thrones where Daenerys is basically where she's stroking the dragon, but in reality, the actress is basically stroking a giant foam green head or whatever. So there are ways around that, but when you're in a high energy animation world where it is like Tom and Jerry, where it is something like Looney Tunes in Space Jam, for example, when it's high energy, it's slapstick, the rules of physics don't necessarily apply in that world. When you have to apply that and kind of graft it into a live action world where the laws of physics actually do matter, the results are incredibly mixed. And when it gets to that very high energy environment where, you know, Tom and Jerry are running around so fast, you got in like that whirlwind ball or whatever that you can sometimes see in cartoons. When that happens and that starts to suck in live action objects and people, it looks terrible. I'm sorry, but it does. And I know this is a really hard thing to pull off, and I'm struggling to find an example where a movie 100% pulled it off, but again, it just doesn't necessarily work in this world. And the actors, they're trying their best, but it doesn't look good. When they have to have the live action people and objects interact with these animated things, and for the most part, those moments don't happen as often. But what happens most often is when you're focusing entirely on the live action components, because that's where the quote unquote plot has to take place, because you actually have to have a plot in this movie besides the hilarity that is Tom and Jerry. And the scenes where you're focusing entirely on the human characters, and Chloe Grace Moretz plays a young woman who basically cons her way into being the events manager of this very prestigious wedding of the social media personalities or whatever they are who are at this hotel, and it's very clear she's over her head on it, and she sells that very well. She's very charming. She's very likable in this part, and she has a good chemistry with everyone she interacts with. Bartender Cameron, however, is sort of billed as to be like her friend / maybe potential love interest, but they have maybe 3-ish scenes together, and it doesn't really work out that well. But she has she sells a chemistry between Chloe Grace Moretz, the real human being, and the animated characters that are Tom and Jerry. She sells that very well, and I think she did a really good job with what she had. Where this movie fails, however, is when the script is just it does not grab me at all, and the shots the scenes where it's just the live action people propelling this tired plot forward, it lags for so long without any animated characters going on for so long. Too many scenes in this movie, I was just like, you know, just can you please cut away to Tom and Jerry and see what they're doing, please? And there are just too many scenes that happen with that. Also, one of my bigger gripes with this film is, again, this may be a personal thing for me. Maybe younger kids, when they see this, it just may be a sign of the times, but I'm a big fan of the original Tom and Jerry shorts from the late 40s, early 50s, and as was the case for that early cartoon shorts, they had orchestral music playing on that time to the music, and that's how you got the sound effects. That's how you got you had animated music when high intensity things are going on. Here in this movie, you got popular current day music playing, and it doesn't really work, in my opinion. It doesn't match what you're seeing in the action. And maybe at the very end, when it's sort of like a chase scene going on, and you got this song playing, and that might be the one scene where it kind of fits for like a modern audience. But I mean, me personally, I like it when it's the orchestral music. And but what I like about the animation thing is, they used archival audio recordings of William Hanna and Mel Blanc and June Foray, the original voice actors of Tom and Jerry, and so it was really surprising and a pleasant surprise when you see Tom falling like 3 or 4 stories off this building, and he has that exact same scream as he did in the 1940s, and it sounds awesome. And there are also great homages that they do to. I have the Tom and Jerry collection on DVD, and I really like that. I recognize very different bits of various Tom and Jerry that they integrated into it, and it looks fantastic. I like that. The great animation that they upscaled it to a modern CGI, but I like these homages. Especially, there's one in particular with a piano where Tom's playing the piano to impress a lady cat, and Jerry's apparently jealous, or I think she's jealous of Tom hogging all the attention in the short, and here he's more angry because Tom tried to get rid of him. But then they have a dueling on the pianos, and there are certain shots that they're evoking a very specific Tom and Jerry short, which I believe won an Academy Award in the 1940s for this particular short. I might be wrong on that, but it was a very popular short at the time, and it's basically ripped straight out of it, and I love those touches of it. However, that being said, all of these elements I don't think saves this film. Again, if you have the younger kids and you're willing to watch it, and you have a HBO Max subscription to it, I'd say it's it's worth clicking maybe once, but if you're gonna go see it in theaters, I would not recommend it. Unless your kids really like it, I don't recommend buying this on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever when it comes out on physical media, or on when it's available for purchase on Amazon Prime or whatever like that. So it's worth seeing, but keep your expectations low, I would say. If I was going to give Tom and Jerry, the 2021 film, a letter grade, I would say this is a C-. I don't think it's quite as bad as like a D territory. I'd say the animation is worth checking out, but the tired script and just the not enough Tom and Jerry-ness really drags this movie down, in my opinion. So those are my main thoughts on Tom and Jerry, the 2021 film. Now let's get into some spoiler-filled talk, as well as some analysis as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you, and where you may have seen them before. Like I said, I compared this earlier to Space Jam as a great example of a hybrid animation and live action film, how they could interact with each other. And I'm not a humongous fan of Space Jam, but I feel like that they did a relatively decent job of integrating the live action and animated components to that. A similar movie that also based on a Hanna-Barbera property from Warner Group that they attempted before is Yogi Bear, the movie, where it also has a fairly similar plot where there's an animal problem. In that film, of course, it would be Yogi Bear in Jellystone Park, where the park is under threat, and the live-action ranger is having a hard time dealing with the animated animal, and Yogi's hijinks are threatening the survival of this park, of Jellystone Park, much the same way as Tom and Jerry's antics are threatening the survival of the Royal Gate Hotel and their prestige at being able to pull off this high stakes celebrity wedding or whatever. So there's that, and also I've only seen bits and pieces of this film. I've never seen the whole thing, but if you're familiar with the film Dunston Checks In, where that's another film where, in that case, a orangutan or whatever, I think was it orangutan? I think it was, that is at a hotel, and there was hijinks ensued with this little kid and the orangutan, and an animal control guy is brought in to deal with it, and a big event is scheduled to take place at this hotel, and nothing could go wrong. But of course, there's an animal in play, and of course something's going to go wrong, much as what happened in Tom and Jerry. So there's that comparison to be made there. I'm sure there are others out there. Like I said, this is a trope, a plot that has been done to death in kids' films and that sort of thing. Those are just the examples that came to mind when I see it. If I missed something, let me know in the comments down below. And also, what did you think of Tom and Jerry, this most recent movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Again, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. If you might have gathered, this was not on my original slate of movies to review, just because the way things are, and movie release dates once again being pushed back, I was kind of hurting for content at this point, and I pretty much knew from the trailer that this was not going to be a great movie, but hey, it's what we got, and be sure to look for my review of, I'm going to do an overall review of the first season of WandaVision, which we believe it will wrap up next week, which is March 6th, I believe, and I will be doing my review of the entirety of that first season that weekend when all the episodes are out. And also be sure to look for my review of Godzilla vs. Kong, which is scheduled to come out, I believe, March 31st. So all that is coming up. And again, if you liked this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best, but just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.